Hey everybody, welcome back to Check the Gate and AFI Deep Dive. I'm Boyd, and as always I'm joined with Brandon.
Hello.
And Michael.
Hello, boy.
And today, Michael, it's all about you, because this is a movie that you chose. We are doing the 1996 film Sleepers, a film about after a prank goes disastrously wrong, a group of boys are sent to a detention center where they are brutalized. 13 years later, an unexpected random encounter with a former guard gives them a chance for revenge. Take us through this a bit, Michael. Obviously, since this was a USA pick, I think this was like one of the first one you chose too. What about this film was so close to your mind that you wanted us to experience it?
I thought you were gonna say so close to your heart, and I was like, I wouldn't go that, wouldn't go that far. I remember seeing this when I was young, maybe I don't know, 12-ish, and I remember seeing like, oh shit, this is messed up. But it kind of like it was always stuck in my mind as like I was like, oh, that stuff never happens at places like that, and then it just kind of realized or showed me that that shit does happen, and sometimes the world's kind of fucked up, and yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's kind of a brief synopsis on why it's stuck in my head all this time, but yeah, it was a good rewatch though.
Yeah, I'd seen it.
So you wanted to share your trauma amongst the group here?
Yeah, I figured you guys could appreciate it. I guess we've watched some heavy movies over the years.
Being a former Catholic altar boy myself, yes.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe subconsciously I needed to make that connection.
You're like, yeah, let's do it.
Well, this time it's not the church. The church is actually the good guys, if you can believe it.
Right.
Which is crazy because when you first meet, like obviously Robert De Niro, like you think that he's gonna be like the loose cannon,
Scum.
but yeah, but he's just like he's the benevolent being in this movie.
I wrote in my notes that he's like the one beacon of light.
Yeah.
The first time I had seen it, I thought he was going to go up and testify, but do the priestly thing and tell the truth.
Yeah.
So mild spoiler for the end of the movie, but so this whole, because like that, the whole movie is kind of ramping up to his decision. Like I feel like with his decision, the court case probably would have been figured out a lot quicker, but because it's a movie, you're ramping to this thing. I honestly thought that he was just going to go up there and was like, no, I wasn't with them.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I'll get. Yeah, I almost was just like, yeah, and then, but yeah, we'll get there when we get there.
yeah. And Brandon, you had never seen this, right?
Correct.
Oh. I'd never seen this movie on TV, but it was always, it's like the whole time I was rewatching it, it reminded me a lot of A Time to Kill. I don't know if you guys have seen that, the McConaughey.
Yep.
It's kind of the same thing. When is vigilante? When is it justified to kill somebody kind of thing? And then a court case trying to get the person we all know murdered somebody off. To the point where when I was Googling Sleepers, like one of the first thing that pops up was like Sleepers versus A Time to Kill. And I was like, okay, so it's not just me. This is an entire genre. And I guess there's another film called Eye to Eye that I've never seen, but I guess it's kind of like in the same ballpark. A murder happens, whether it was justified or not, and then a court case, like, the courtroom drama. I also remember this movie starting with the killings, and then I was surprised to find out that you are actually with the boys for an entire hour.
Yeah.
Before, not necessarily, it's not a twist, but it's like definitely like the catalyst, the turning point in the film that drives the rest of the plot.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to dive into this bad boy?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Get a little sleepy. Like I said, this is a 1996 film. The top three films of 1996 are number 3, Mission Impossible, the first one. Number 2, Twister, the first one. And number 1, Independence Day, the first one.
Ooh. What a this That explains why I didn't see this movie.
Because they're
That's a solid lineup right there that came out.
yeah, the summer of '96,
I
baby.
think it just got lost in the sauce.
Yeah. I mean, you would have been what, 9 when this movie came out? 10?
For sure.
Yeah.
80. Well,
96?
10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was 3.
It was the first movie he saw in theaters too. So.
Yeah, me and my mama.
A ticket cost in 1996 $4.42, which is equivalent to $8.83 our money. The budget for the film was $44 million, which is equivalent to $87.9 million, and the box office was $165.6 million, which is equivalent to $330.9 million. So a nice, robust earning. The film was nominated for 1 Academy Award, and won 0. It lost for Best Music / Score for the John Williams. I was surprised that it was him too when you see his name pop up in the credits, because it doesn't sound anything like. Usually he does like all the.
No.
A lot of his scores. I'm not saying they're all the same, but they do sound quite similar.
They all have the same theme. They've always got the cello, and they've always got the horns.
And this movie does do a lot more like pop culture 60s music. Obviously with the Frankie Valli, with what the boys do. But this movie's also based on a book that I had a lot of the trivia I had seen about this movie are almost all about the book. The author claiming that this is a true story and that Jason Patric is supposed to be the author. He goes by Shakes, but I guess it's, Lorenzo Carichetta, I believe is his name. Said he changed names and detention centers, for legal issues, but it has since come out that he made the whole thing up and just said it happened to him in real life. So this book had like a bunch of controversy, and then the movie came out like a year later. There's like court cases where the state of New York was like, we have no court cases that make. All his friends growing up were like, this never happened to him.
Damn.
So a lot of people were just like, oh, so you're just you wrote some
good storytelling.
You wrote something heavy, and then you said, oh no, this is me. It happened to me. That's why we never Jason Patric never really tells us what happens to him, because he's supposed to be the author / obviously he's the narrator of the film, but he's in quotes the author of the book too, and that's again why it's all for the most part his POV. Even as a young kid, we only really see his home life. We see that a young Tommy is getting beaten up by his stepdad, but we never actually see that. We see how violent Shakes' dad is to his mom. And then when he leaves the detention center, we don't see what happens to the boys again until, that's when we jump to 1981. So that's why it's all relatively told through his perspective. This movie I do love those 60s vibes though. Like the running the muck with your friends, playing stickball with the fellas.
Yeah.
In Hell's Kitchen, New York, where there's like slight, not even slight, there's mob corruption, but like the mobsters seem like super chill, like, hey, you're part of the neighborhood.
Hey, well,
they're for the people.
Like Shakes' dad is like telling the kids, like, by the way, like Bruno Kirby, his dad looks like he's doing like an Ed Norton cosplay. He looks so much like Ed Norton in this film. He's telling them about how brutal King Benny is, and then they're like, oh, I'm gonna go work for that guy.
He pays all right though.
Yeah, what, $25
Yeah.
for 45 minutes worth of work? I should have looked up what $25 in 1968 was. Bear with me. $225.
holy
Whoa.
That's
Yeah.
a good. That's a good haul.
Yeah, no dental though, unfortunately. That's why King Benny's missing his front teeth. We're introduced to Father Bobby, who's played by Robert De Niro. Like we said, he's obviously a priest. He's like the one, like I'd already said, like the beacon of light in these boys' life. They're altar boys. Two of the four boys actually have like an interest in going into the priesthood. They're a bunch of pranksters. They like fucking with the nuns, hiding in confessional booths and hearing everybody's deep dark secrets, and then they're just like, oh, shouldn't have done that.
Whoops.
And kind of like what we were saying, like with how good De Niro is with these boys, I kept anticipating the turn at the end, and so it was like the one nice thing about this film, especially because like this movie has but also doesn't have a happy ending, because it's like while we're all hanging out together one last time, and then it's undercut with, and then they all died.
It's like, oh, look at this, and then it's like, so and so died of a drug overdose, so and so didn't make it to 30, so it's just like, oh, all right, I'll just focus on this little video of them having fun right now.
Drinking and smoking.
Yeah.
They got like 18 candles on the table in front of them. Like I said, they're little pranksters. They have this really great idea in the summer of 1967, which they said is the event that changed their lives forever. Have this idea that they're going to get a hot dog from a hot dog vendor. When he hands it to him, he's going to take off running, and the vendor can either take his 15-cent loss on a hot dog or chase after him, and then if he does, the other three boys will come up and eat hot dogs. Raw dog is dogs. Glizzies.
With his dogs. Glizzies.
That ends up what's happening. He takes off running. He says he runs for like 10 blocks, and the vendor was still on his heels. He goes, he could have gone 15 minutes on hate alone. The three guys back at the... Brad Renfro, by the way. R.I.P. Brad Renfro. Remember when he was in everything in the 90s?
Yeah.
Man. It's Huckleberry Finn from my childhood.
Yep.
Tom and Huck. They decide that they're going to steal the hot dog cart, because wouldn't it be funny if when he gets back his cart is missing? Shakes runs back to them, says he's still chasing me. So they have the idea that they're going to try to balance the hot dog vendor booth, which they've already stated is heavier than it looks. They're going to try to balance it at the top of a subway stair rail. That way when he comes up, he'll grab it, and once he grabs the cart, they can run away and they'll be fine. Obviously the cart is way too heavy, and it goes careening down those staircase, and it lands into an innocent bystander at the very bottom. And I actually remembered him dying. I thought they truly did kill him. And even, young Michael Brad Renfro is the one who said, I think we just killed a man. We find out that he is luckily alive and trying to recover in a hospital, and the boys are charged with reckless endangerment. Shakes gets a lighter sentence because he was... They said he wasn't there when but he was one of the guys who put the hot dog cart on the staircase. They just stole it while he was gone. So he gets a lighter sentence because he didn't initiate it, of 6 months to 1 year at Wilkinson's Detention Center for Boys. And then the other three guys get anywhere from 1 to 1.5 years. And that not even Father Bobby's influence can help smooth things over, solve things. He can't vouch for him. They're going to detention center. We find out that Robert De Niro has also, when he was a ruffian, when he was younger too, and that he had actually stayed at Wilkinson's also. Then this movie takes a turn for the worse. We meet Sean Noakes, a prison guard played by Kevin Bacon in his creepiest Kevin Bacon face. Whistling down the hallway, swirling his baton. Goes to Shakes' room and tells him to undress completely. Has him stripped down naked. He's leering at him while he's smoking that cigarette. And then once he's naked, tells him to get dressed, and then clearly just goes to the next room over. and we cut to that. So like this is night one. We're in for it. Brandon, you said you'd never seen it. Did you know anything about this movie at all?
No,
No. So
not a single thing.
So like the next 30 minutes of this film like are fucking heavy.
Yeah,
And
very.
I I remember that they don't show. Obviously, they're not showing anything. It's all more. I mean,
You can draw your own conclusions.
Yeah, what's left to your imagination is almost worse.
Yeah.
But I didn't remember it being for that long and that intense, especially with those flashbacks, because those flashbacks are almost worse than when they're actually there. Just a lot of fill in your own blanks. The four guards that are on their floor, Noakes, Ferguson, Styler, and Addison, routinely take the boys. We could presume it happened to more than just the core four. Obviously, other of the other boys are getting beaten, but we can presume this is happening pretty much on this floor to all the boys on that floor. They're routinely taken down to the basement, beaten, tortured, and raped. Yeah, it's not a fun time being had, and it's relenting. I don't mean to beat the same drum, but it's just like there is literally never a moment where, I mean, even when you do think you have that moment of reprieve, they're doing we see one of the boys in solitary confinement, his face is beat to a bloody pulp, and then he does like that little flashback. We get that foggy blue lens where, they're doing like a longest yard football game, inmates versus guards kind of thing. It's just a friendly game of two-hand touch. Shakes and the boys see a kid named Rizzo, a black kid, super athletic. They convince him, join the football team, we'll embarrass the guards, we'll finally have that moment where in your face, kind of thing. To which they do, and you get like the every game of two-hand touch ever where it starts as two-hand touch and then it becomes full tackle rugby. People doing like these crazy flips in the air, slamming in the mud, slow motion, hand in the air celebrations in slow motion. The guards lose. We get, Rizzo, going up to Noakes saying, "Hey, good game, Noakes," kind of thing. And then we cut to them in solitary, beat to a pulp, because obviously the guards took their aggression out on them. And when Shakes comes out of solitary, he's in the infirmary with the other boys. Their faces all bruised and beaten. And Brad Renfro lets us know that Rizzo was literally beaten to death. He has died. We get Father Bobby routinely come and try to visit. Kevin Bacon obviously tells him every time, keep your fucking mouth shut, or it's going to get even worse for you. No one's going to believe you, kind of thing. To the point where Shakes feels like all four of the boys don't want this out. To the point where they actually ask Father Bobby to stop coming because it's just too hard. It doesn't seem like any of their parents come anymore. They make a comment about how so-and-so's parents never came. Tommy's mom came like once a month for a couple times. Michael didn't have anybody come, but I routinely had Father Bobby showing once every week or so. And then it just got too much for him, and that's when, he lets him know that Father Bobby lets him know, I was here too, don't be too tough for this place. Like, it's, he sends him off, and then we get that scene where it clearly Shakes is going home. It's been a year, they even say, like, it's not 1 year to a year and a half for us, it'll be a year and a half to the hour, to the minute. Like, they're not going to let us go. They make that comment about how Noakes tore up, the letter from the warden saying that Shakes gets to go home. And that last night, they have as they put it, a going away party for him, where we get that really harrowing visual of them going down that long hallway for probably the 365th time, you know, faces completely zapped of all innocence, especially the two smaller boys, you know, John and Tommy, are clearly, you know, forever fucked up from this. And they get another 6 months of it. Shakes gets to leave, but these guys get another 6 months. Thankfully, we cut to 1981. That's the first hour of this movie. Is like I said, I remember it being like 5-10 minutes, and it ended up being like 30-45.
What makes that last scene so much worse is like as they're all walking down the hallway, they're just like, oh yeah, well, they're like making small talk and stuff.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh yeah, if he's gonna tell you to work those hours, like I'll tell him I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
stuff
yeah,
like that.
the guards.
I put in for overtime. You know, I said,
Yeah.
I ain't missing this for, you know, he's like, oh, you getting paid overtime? He's like, I come in 3 hours every morning and I don't get paid shit. You know, yeah, just, it's another day at the office for these guys.
Yeah.
And it punctuates it even more in the next scene where now an adult John and Tommy come walking into a bar. They're clearly locals, you know, they frequent this bar enough to where they can tell the bartender, hey, send those two guys over there talking politics at our bar. They either need to change political parties or change the conversation, if you know if you catch my drift. So, you know, the guys oblige, you know, they get, you know, and then that's when John sees Kevin Bacon in the corner, a disheveled looking Kevin Bacon, eating. He can't really tell if it's him, but so he goes to the bathroom, verifies it's him, goes back to Tommy, lets him know, and then you get that scene where they're just cocking their guns. We're told at the beginning that these two guys are the founding members of the West Side Boys. Little John started the East Side Boys. These two guys started the West Side Boys. They go up to him. Kevin Bacon can't place him. They sit down at this booth, and, you know, they confront him, you know, saying, you know, it's John and Tommy. And then to what you were saying, like how he goes, oh, how you guys been? It's been a long time. You know, like nothing bad happened. As he says when they're like, can't, you know, I can't, we're gonna watch you die. We're gonna fucking kill you. And he's like, well, I was just making you tough. You know, like that whole thing of him just being like, just casually going back to eating, just being like, oh, how you been? It's been a long time. Oh, yeah. What you guys been up to? Kind of thing. That was like the punctuation mark on the, I regret nothing. I don't care.
Now you must die.
And they really take their time with it. They shoot him in the groin, shoot him in the leg, shoot him in the arm, but with like 20 seconds in between each shot, till they finally shoot him in the head. You see the two patrons in the booth next to him. You know, they're screaming, they're looking away, they're screaming. They go out, and I really liked the touch of them. They go to hand the money to the bartender. Hey, we should have got those sandwiches to go. I like how the bartender doesn't really know what's happening. He just hears gunshots, and he's got money in his hand, like fanned out, like it's supposed to be a robbery. Like it's another day at the office for him as well. There's gunshots. I don't know if you noticed that at all, but that second watch I did yesterday, I noticed he had money fanned out in his hand as if they shot somebody and were coming to rob him. So he was just going to hand over money.
Yeah.
But they actually gave him money, left money on the counter for him. We get a little bit of narration that the two men have pled not guilty, and that's when we meet Jason Patric, who is the adult Shakes, who works for the New York Times. He's a newspaperman. And Brad Pitt is the assistant DA who voluntarily took this case. And everybody in Hell's Kitchen thinks he's a traitor because he is essentially the person who's going to try to put these boys in jail. Not only his friends, but also fellow Hell's Kitchen neighborhood kids. That's when Brad Pitt meets up with Jason Patric and puts this plan in motion where he says, he essentially says the only reason why I got into law was to put these 4 men in jail and bring down Wilkinson's detention center. He said, it's not how I intended this to start, but John and Tommy started it, so now we have to pivot. Like, he's clearly been thinking about this forever. He has these stacks of files on all 4 of the guards, and he has a plan to essentially sabotage his own career to get not only John and Tommy off, but ruin the lives of the men who ruined theirs. A lot of moving parts. We kind of get the Ocean's 11 montage of the things we need. We're gonna need King Benny. He runs the streets. He's got to keep Hell's Kitchen quiet. He's got to let them know. Please feel free to berate and yell at Brad Pitt. We have to make it look like he's the bad guy, but nobody can touch him. Can't kill him. No death order can be sent until King Benny gives the words. It's all underground. That's when they drop the title of the name, the Sleepers, which is the code word for juvenile detention center kids who've been there longer than 9 months. Brad Pitt has King Benny enlist like Dustin Hoffman, who's like a drunken slob, like terrible bumble.
Love Dustin Hoffman in this.
He's doing like the most Dustin Hoffman, like
the most Dustin Hoffman mumble of all time.
Like right up there with Dick Tracy when he was mumbles.
Yeah,
the whole time that's all I could think was him and Dick Tracy.
The best part of him is like the like legal pad. And you can tell he's reading off his lines,
blatantly reading the script. Yeah.
No, when he's like behind Brad Pitt and he's like flipping through his notebook and he just like keeps flipping and keeps flipping and keeps flipping, like, and Brad Pitt's like, "Dude, I am gonna murder you." Like you could just tell it's bugging him.
What time did you eat lunch? What time did you? And then he like trips over the desk a little bit, like hits his knee.
He runs into it. Yeah.
Such a good job.
He was great.
He's just like, so how many glasses of wine do you have with lunch? So it's 1, and then you have 2. What?
It's like, is that a typical lunch for you?
Yeah.
The alcoholic who's calling the other alcoholic.
The martini and 4 glasses of wine, and then 2.
He's like, is that a typical lunch for you?
Yeah. And she's like, excuse me?
Did you see or did you glance? Glanced.
He's like making a point, but like you don't realize he's actually making a point.
Yeah, you've been got by Dustin Hoffman.
And to a degree, it's more Brad Pitt just because he's literally, you see him, even in that montage where he was like, we're gonna get this drunk buffoon. He's like, and I'm gonna give him. King Benny tells him, he's like, you're gonna have all the questions and you're gonna have all the answers. And we see Brad Pitt typing it on the typewriter, and he's typing, how much did you have to drink at lunch? Like that's what he's typing. So 10 minutes later, when he's finally asking those questions, you're like, oh, okay.
He does have a point.
Yeah. Jason Patric meets up with Carol, who was also another young friend they had. She's like a social worker, and he's like, it was a little vague on why he was there for like files. Like, do you want the files? But I didn't know if that was because they were kind of like flirting with each other a little bit. It didn't seem like she ever gave him any information or anything because they still had Brad Pitt's fat stack of files on all 3 of the other guys, all the other guards. They get King Benny to threaten 2 of the witnesses, the 2 guys talking politics, so they're not going to testify. We just have to worry about the 2 people in the booth who were 5 feet away from the murder when it happened. We kind of get like progressive, all in a row, bing, bang, boom. We get the scene where, they're questioning the woman whether she had enough to drink, or whether she had too much to drink, I should say. And we do see, by the way, when they shoot that first shot, it cuts to them at the booth, and she turns away completely.
Yep.
So she didn't look at anything that whole time. Not that matters. I just
no, but it was good camera or good editing.
Yeah, to
foreshadowing.
leave that little nugget. Yeah, and then we get like consistently. I'm gonna go find a young, hungry detective who wants to work his way up in the police department. So Jason Patric gives him a big old fat stack of information on one of the guards, Styler. He's a corrupt cop. He's throwing drug dealers away, but he's just taking their stash and their money, selling their stash, getting them more money. So he's. And then on top of that, there was a murder that they couldn't place. Well, here's the gun, here's the shells, and they have his fingerprints on both of them. So we're taking care of that guy right off the bat. We find out that he arrests him right away. It didn't take long; he jumps right on it. Cut to King Benny, finding out that Addison, who is another police officer who's been got his shit in King Benny's business, decides what he's going to do. He finds out that he has $8,000 worth of debt, buys all of his debt, so that he now owes King Benny, Addison, the other guard. Then he finds out that Rizzo, the kid who was killed at the detention center, his brother is also like a mob boss in and of itself, like a different sect. They don't really get into it, just that they've known each other for a long time. Essentially says, you're going to give me $8,000 in cash, and you're essentially going to buy Addison's debt. Oh, by the way, he killed your brother. Like, oh, well,
Bye.
Here's $8,000 here. And then knowing that Addison would never be able to pay that off, we cut to them at the airport, like that airfield at night. His face has been beaten to a pulp. And it's like really good filmmaking where you hear the plane go over and then they just like blow him away with like 15 shots to the chest, but you can't hear the gunshots at all because you just have the sound of the jet turbine. So we've dispatched 2 guards like immediately. And then they have this plan to get Ferguson on the stand. He's the only one that doesn't have any, dirt that they can tweak, not extort, but, use against him in a way to either arrest or kill. They put him on the stand, and Brad Pitt essentially is just like, you good friends with Sean Noakes. We find out also that he's like a social worker, but is also like a Sunday school teacher. So like there's also that in there too. So he's like consistently around children. So that has always been just weighing in the back of your mind while you're watching this. Obviously he's up on the stand. Jason Patric doesn't even want to look at him because why would you? We got John and Tommy sitting at the desk seeing who it is, and they're furious. Because again, I don't know why. And this is just kind of like an off topic, but on topic. I don't know why they never told them what was happening. Would it matter if John and Tommy knew that what they were trying to do, like that Michael was actually working with them, not against them?
That's a good point. I guess I never thought about that.
I felt like this whole time, obviously, it's a book. It has to, it's a movie. You got to make if you streamline things, it's not, thrilling, anticipating. You're not ramping up to what Robert De Niro is going to do at the end, because they do go to De Niro and are like, hey, we need you to you got to perjure yourself, say you were with them. Jason Patric tells him, like in that really emotional montage scene where he's just kind of at the house talking about all of the things that they endured for a year and a half, and why they felt like they could never go to him about it, but they're going to him now, to help them out. So I feel like if De Niro testifies earlier, it gets thrown out, obviously, because he straight up says, they were with me, yada yada, question a priest, I dare you, kind of thing. I didn't understand why everything had to be so secretive.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. I've yeah, I got nothing else to add on that, but like, it's a good point. Like, why you would think they would want to be, you would want to tune them in, not just be like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? You know?
Yeah, yeah. I don't. I guess
Maybe they didn't. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point.
uh, I I understand at the beginning when they said we need as few people that know what's happening as possible. Hell's Kitchen is a tight knit neighborhood, and they look out for each other. But obviously, the more people know, the more chance that it gets out.
Yeah.
Loose slips.
So we don't really get much outside of that. What happened at Wilkinson's made John and Tommy the people that they were. Obviously, they didn't feel like they could keep it to themselves. I guess is the whole point of why they didn't know. It just, I don't know. That was always the one thing that didn't make sense story-wise for me. Because they consistently they never actually come out and say that they were molested. Like, that was the whole point of the trial, was that they were going to get Ferguson to rat on himself rather than be like, and you did it to those two boys too, didn't you? They never said that. They just said, it happened at Wilkinson's, and I was there, and I witnessed it. So, like, in the eyes of the court, that never, these two boys are, untouched by these guys, but that we just tricked this guy into ratting on himself, which is what happens, Was there beatings at Wilkinson's? Defined beatings, hit with a fist, a baton. It happened every once in a while. Was there torture? Oh, defined torture. Brutalizing children, putting cigarette butts out on kids' skin. Yeah, I guess that happened too. Can you who did the? I can't remember everyone's name. I just remember one name. Okay, and then there is that moment where you can literally see the light bulb click in Ferguson's head on the stand, where we cinematically see that it's the two boys sitting at the desk. It's no longer, the adult versions, it's the children, and you can see that he has figured out that he has been gotten, and that those are the two boys, and that, he immediately starts breaking down, confesses to everything. Noakes was part of this. I was there. I do think it's weird that they just let him go. Like, obviously
And they're like, but we'll want to have a word with you after this.
Yeah,
kind of
obviously
thing.
the judge says don't go far from home.
Yeah.
Because people are going to want to talk to you. I feel like he should have just been arrested right there on the spot.
Yeah, seriously.
Which is what I was expecting. And then they're like, okay, you're dismissed. And the judge is like, but don't go far. Well, and then, define far, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the end, doesn't Brad Pitt say like something about like going back after him? Like he was like collecting. He's got to get his. I thought I can't remember something about like him collecting the information to go back after Ferguson.
Obviously there's going to be a whole nother trial with Ferguson. We are left to that's the one thing that there's no on-screen resolution. Obviously we know that he just confessed to a lot of terrible, heinous acts, but because we don't see him arrested, we're just left to assume that loose end gets tied up after this case. That's a whole separate case. They're not there to try anybody for
he'll have his own day in court.
Yeah, they're there for a murder trial, so that's a whole separate thing. But Brad Pitt, as we find out at the end, retires. He turns into, so he's not even part of that trial.
Yeah.
But but Brad Pitt does. He does like that really, like goofy, dead-faced Brad. I guess I called the wrong character witness, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I've been saying, this whole movie has now been ramping up to whether Father Bobby is going to testify or not. Everyone in Hell's Kitchen, they see Father Bobby as he's going to court. They're all like, "We good? We good?" And then, he just gives that De Niro wink. By the way, he's only 53. He looks great in this movie.
Yeah.
I
It
was
looks like he's like 40.
I was saying this to Cassie. I was like, I wonder when did he just start swelling up and like aging? Because like he's
Like within the last like 5 years, I swear. Because
like he's still.
you think about like
you know,
Meet the Parents and the Fockers. He looks he looks the same as he did in this movie. Like
Yeah.
and then you jump like 5 more years, and he looks exactly the same that he did in Sleepers. You're
Yeah.
like, this guy doesn't age. And then only in like the last 3 years, he just kind of like
bad grandpa
That-
took
when
it
that-
out of him.
yeah.
Bad Grandpa.
Or that
I forgot about that
What's
movie.
that other? What was that movie? The Netflix movie that he was in. It was like right at COVID. It was the big one.
The
Wasn't it,
Irishman.
like- The Irishman. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like right then he like started
Yeah.
to show his age.
The movie that they had like the bad face de-aging because they
Yeah.
were supposed to be like in their 20s, but they hired an 80-year-old Robert De Niro. Which is, I mean, we've talked about that multiple times with, Raging Bull and Goodfellas, both De Niro Scorsese films where they're supposed to, be 20, 25. And Raging Bull, he's supposed to be 18, we talked about.
Yeah.
But he's called in to the stand. We get that really great scene because again, as an audience, we don't know what's going to happen. And he's last we spoke to him, he was with Jason Patric, and he said, "I need to pray on it, and I hope I make the right decision." And Jason Patric said, "What the decision you make will be the right one, regardless of which decision you go with." That great scene where like almost the sound is like completely gone as he swears on the Bible, sits down. Hoffman asks him where he was the night of the murder, and we get by the way, isn't this like the Celtics Knicks basketball game? Isn't that like what the Menendez brothers said they were at when they were actually killed? Because he's on that basketball card of the guy for the Knicks. Like that was their alibi, but they actually just left the game early and then went and killed their parents.
Was it a Knicks Celtics game or was it Knicks Bulls? I can't remember.
I don't. I just when he said, I was at the Garden watching not the Garden, but I guess the Garden. Yeah, watching
the
Knicks
Garden.
Celtics. Yeah. Who won? Is like unfortunately the Celtics were too much. Robert Parrish, even though it was All Saints Day kind of thing.
Yeah, that was good little quip.
Was anybody there with you? Yes. The defendants, John and Tommy, were there. What? You see that look on both John and Tommy's face, like, oh, yeah, we were there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we were there.
I was there.
Yeah, I remember. They did the dunk. I saw the dunk.
Yeah, he dunked it. The basket, the ball. Yeah.
And in fact, here's the ticket stubs.
Yeah.
Well,
Dun,
yeah.
dun, dun.
snap.
Which is, when Brad Pitt comes up. He gets slipped that letter. I'm assuming, we don't know what the letter says, but I'm assuming it says, I have ticket stubs, ramp up to it. And, that, I'm editorializing because I don't know what it says. But I'm assuming, you're a priest, you wouldn't lie, would you, Father? No, of course not. But nobody saw you buy the tickets. You don't have a receipt for the tickets. You paid in cash, kind of thing. Why should I believe you? And he's like, because I have 3 ticket stubs right here. What? And Brad Pitt does again, like you can tell it's like early Pitt because he's not completely dialed in with his Pittness. So he's got like the goofy like whoa eyes when he like looks at the date on the tickets. But he's also
What the?
I also know that he is trying to like sell it. So like part of me takes like the weird overacting as like it's very meta,
I'll get to that when we get to our own reviews.
Okay. I got nothing else, Your Honor. Gosh darn, this blew up in my face. Kind of
nuts.
thing.
The state rests.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious.
And then we immediately cut to, the jury finds the defendants not guilty on all charges. cut to outside of the courtroom where Jason Patric sees Brad Pitt in very poor taste buy a hot dog from a street vendor. I feel like he would never do that ever again.
I hate hot dogs.
Maybe he paid double.
He did. You see him like throw the hot dog away, like almost immediately.
I'm like, oh, that's
so why the fuck did I buy this?
Yeah.
You know, he tells Shakes, he was like, you know, I'm putting in my 2-week notice, which they'll be fine with because I just screwed up a slam dunk open and shut case. You know, Jason Patric tells him, oh, you know, you can always, you know, there's always bad guys out there. You know, you can public defend it. There's more money in it. And he goes, no. And, you know, he kind of lets us know that this was the only reason why he became a lawyer, you know, was to take down these 4 guys and have, you know, the eye of Sweet Lady Justice look at Wilkinson's detention center to maybe possibly weed out any more of this. You know, he kind of has his Thanos moment where he's just like looking at the sunset and just like, now I can rest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We cut to, it's about 2 months later. We're trying to have a happy ending. It's the 4 boys and Carol at the bar, you know, hooping and hollering, getting drunk, you know, having one last good drunk. Come on, Michael.
Oh, beautiful.
One more song.
Well, I woke up this morning singing that song, by the way.
Oh, how you try to cut me down to size. I don't think we can sing anymore. We're gonna get flagged. You know, while they're having this happy moment with the music playing, that's when we get the narration that John was found dead at the age of 29. His swollen body was laying next to a bottle of gin. You know, died of. They never said whether it was alcohol or drugs, but he, you know, succumbed to some sort of thing like that. Tommy, at the age of 29, was shot like 6 times by a rival gang, found dead. Michael, Brad Pitt, you know, never returned to law, you know, just kind of became a carpenter and, you know, is kind of doing his own thing. And then we never find out what goes on with Jason Patric because it's the narrator talking, you know, but then we get the montage scene of like the boys carrying, you know, Brad Renfro holding a trophy. It was like a scene we never saw in the movie.
Yeah, it didn't make sense.
It was like trying to be like very triumphant, you know, and then he hits us with the last lines of the movie, you know, the future lay sparkling ahead and we thought we'd known each other forever. And it just kind of, I just got goosebumps saying that. Like, it's just, you know, just kind of like, you know, we thought we'd be friends forever. You know, and we just completely lost all our innocence. And just it's kind of left with a fuck me, you know, at the end.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, there's not like a whole lot of almost like every 9 things of trivia was about the book actually not being a true story kind of thing. That even, I guess, if you bought this movie on VHS, it would say at the very end, because it was supposed to be, at the time of the VHS, it was considered a true story. They even say at the beginning, this is a true story of friendship. That at the end of the VHS, it would say, no criminal records were ever found. You know, essentially just like covering our ass. It's just a movie. The guy who wrote the book says it's true. We don't necessarily think it is. Don't sue us. You know, all names and, you know, no pets were harmed. All names and places were changed. Anything that may sound like this is entirely coincidental, that kind of thing. But the DVD didn't have that, so I thought that was interesting. That for whatever reason, the VHS.
My version did. Yeah,
did it?
This streaming. I rented it on Google, but.
Oh, so did I.
I weirdly own.
Maybe
I own this movie.
Oh.
I kind of told like a story when you chose this movie, you know, over a year ago when we made the choices. I had never heard of this film, and I was helping my dad move out of his townhome at the time, and we were moving a couch from upstairs to downstairs, and he was at the bottom. And he made a joke. He was like, "Don't drop this couch, because if you drop this couch, it's going to go down the stairs and it's going to crush me, and you're going to get sent to juvie. And Kevin, and you better hope Kevin Bacon's not your god," like that kind of thing. I was like, "What?"
Oh my God.
I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, you've never seen Sleepers?" I was like, "No, what is this?" And that's when I went, to the Holy of Holies. I went to Hastings, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
And it was
Dang.
it was one of those buy one get one for $1. It was used. So
Dang.
I own a used copy of Sleepers, and I watched it, and I was like, "Oh my God."
Jeez.
There's
My
probably
dad.
there's probably no way I'll ever watch this ever again. 12 years
Psych.
12 years later, here I am talking
Along
about
came Michael.
it. So Brandon, you're edging me here. I gotta hear
Yeah.
what's your opinions. You seem a little. Obviously, this isn't like a triumphant film.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. It has nothing to do with the story. I thought the story was good. Good, story of redemption. It kind of fell flat for me. Like, I know this holds personal, touch for Michael. Grew up watching this movie so many times or whatever.
I watched it like twice.
Every
but yeah,
Christmas.
keep going.
You said like 29 times, dude. So I was like, man,
What?
this is.
What?
Where's Jacob? Roll back the tape. Let's
I watched
check
this
that.
29 times.
It's my favorite
So no.
movie.
Anyways,
My name's
back to what I was going to say. I feel like this movie probably hit a home run back in the 90s, which is why I was a little disappointed that I didn't see it back then, or slightly after. But I feel like we've been spoiled, with great acting, Brad Pitt, Robert De Niro, and now to go back and watch something when they're like all younger, I was like, man.
Which is what you
It's
were
kind of
saying
fell flat.
because you were asking, what year did this? You wanted to look up a little bit, and you
Yeah.
saw that cast list, and you're like, this is
I was like,
loaded
damn,
cast.
this is good. I showed my wife the cast list, and she was like, oh, I'm on board. Let's watch it.
Also, Jason
And-
Patrick is in it.
Yeah, Jason Patrick.
So I
Billy
was
Crudup's first film.
Yes.
I feel like I think it could have been a lot better. It was very choppy at points too. And then there was, like you said, there was just scenes that were thrown in there that you're like, wait, what was that about? Or or like a storyline that intersected, like the Little Caesar, Wendell Pierce. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Why is he in here now?
Yeah.
So I thought the story was good, and I felt like they did a good job of adapting it into a movie, like being a story. I've never read the book, but I just feel like the acting was fell a little flat.
It definitely did. Knowing it's a book, you can definitely tell,
Yeah.
like, it felt very chaptery,
Yeah.
and maybe that's why I thought that, because like I said at the top, I thought it started with them killing Kevin Bacon, these two guys that you don't know, and then you go back to 1968. I don't know why I thought that. I just, for whatever reason in my brain, I didn't realize that was an hour into the film. Maybe I just don't remember the first hour being an hour long. I felt like they got right there to the detention center within 15 minutes, and then they were out within 15. But I was wrong.
No, they take you through the whole, year to 18 months with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this watch around, obviously it had been probably a good 20 years since I've seen it. I forgot how, like, not complex, but how many moving parts with the trial scene was. I thought there are some parts that you're just like, oh wait, okay, yeah, though he slipped him the note with the ticket stubs, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I forgot how complex that was.
I have like 6 pages of notes, and like a good 4 to 5 are just the trial, because there's so much going on, and I didn't want to like leave anything out. So I felt like there were times when we were talking about it where I just went for 15 minutes just rambling, 'Cause I was like, well, there's, and then this happened, and then because of this is going on. Like, so it's definitely not like a normal, like the second half of a Law and Order, where
Yeah.
but
Dong dong.
yeah, good
Heavy stuff. I actually watched it last Saturday, right after the night after we recorded our last episode.
No, did you watch it with Emma?
So, no, I watched it alone in the office upstairs with my headphones on.
Brandon, did you watch?
She's like, "What are you watching?"
Did you watch it with Dom? Since she said that
Yeah.
she was down to clown, yeah.
Yeah.
I watched it with Cassie also. As I was putting
Damn
it in, I was like, it's gonna get real dark.
It's heavy.
You don't see anything; it's all implied. But it's intense
But it is,
for those.
it's intense and graphic in nature.
It just made me angry too. There was a
Yeah,
point of this
for
movie where I
sure.
was just angry.
Any
Yeah.
of these type of movies make me pretty angry after watching, or any books. I got to take a breather.
Yeah,
Especially the end when you don't really get full closure. You know that
Yeah.
like the guards are like getting exposed, but you're not like, what happened? So it's like
Because like who
there's
wins?
a little bit of redemption.
And who wins in the end, right? Like nobody. Do you get?
Nobody.
Do you
Uh,
get your?
yeah.
Your-
That's what they literally said. Like
Yeah.
after that night, like John and Tommy went back to the West Side Boys. Like they continued being gangbangers.
Yeah.
They had they were able to close that chapter of their life, but it still made them who they are. Like,
Yeah, nothing changes really. It's like some people die, the guards get exposed, and then you're just like, oh, okay.
yeah. So
Yeah. Feel ya. breather.
anything else we want to touch on before we put this baby to sleep?
A lot of baby faces in the movie, though.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A lot of baby faces.
It's almost a 30-year-old
It's
movie.
a baby.
Yeah.
Damn.
Think about that.
I thinking.
You want to talk about what we're doing next time?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Let's do it.
We are traveling to the ripe old year of 2000 for it's a my pick. We're back to me. All of us have chosen one, so that's nice. We've had a little variety. We're gonna do our first of two Christopher Nolan films in 2000. We are. I'm gonna get a tattoo to remind me to watch Memento. Michael, have you seen Memento?
Let me jog my memory real quick. I don't think.
Have you
so.
seen season 3 of Blue Mountain State, where Thad Castle gets a concussion?
Yes, I have.
That is what that episode is parodying. I love this movie. It's a top fiver for me. This is in the top 5 club for me. I'm excited to watch it. It's a real trip.
Oh, it's on Peacock
Okay.
too. Nice.
Really?
Good thing we all re-signed up. Way to go, corporate America.
Oh, it's spelled Memento. Oh,
Like he's-
I'm already interested.
Yeah.
Like a memory.
Oh, it's very memory. Don't watch this drunk.
Oh, all right.
Sorry. Yeah, so we'll be back next time with Memento. What do you say we go ahead and cut, print, check the gate?
See you guys.
Peace.